There was nothing on the radar screen. The sky appeared empty. Air defense systems were silent. But the sky was not empty. At 40,000 feet, an aircraft with a wingspan of 170 feet was gliding through the darkness. It weighed 150 tons. It carried 16 tons of bombs, and radar could not see it. The B-2 Spirit, the world's most expensive aircraft, $2 billion each, a fleet of 21 aircraft, $44 billion. Why so expensive? Because invisibility does not come cheap. The B-2 is not an ordinary aircraft. Its wings, its body, its engines, everything was designed to absorb or deflect radar waves. Special coatings, special materials, special geometry. The result? A bomber 40 meters wide leaves a radar signature no bigger than a bird. The Soviets invested trillions of dollars in air defense, thousands of radar stations, thousands of surface-to-air missiles, thousands of interceptor aircraft, all designed to stop American bombers. The B-2 made all of it worthless. This is the story of the aircraft that rewrote the rules of air warfare, how American engineers achieved the impossible, and how a flying wing, designed in secret, became the most feared weapon in the sky. The idea of a flying wing is almost as old as aviation itself. A conventional aircraft has a fuselage, wings, and a tail. The fuselage carries passengers or cargo. The wings generate lift. The tail provides stability and control. Each component serves a specific purpose, but all those components also create drag. The fuselage pushes against the air. The tail adds weight and resistance. Every surface that is not a wing reduces efficiency. What if you could eliminate everything except the wing? What if the entire aircraft was one smooth lifting surface? You would have the most aerodynamically efficient design possible. Engineers dreamed of this for decades. In the 1940s, Jack Northrop built experimental flying wings that amazed the wing aviation world. His YB-49 bomber flew beautifully and efficiently. It seemed like the future of aviation. But there was a problem. Flying wings were inherently unstable. Without a tail, they tended to yaw and pitch unpredictably. Pilots struggled to control them. Crashes occurred. The technology of the 1940s could not solve this problem. Northrop's flying wing program was canceled. The dream was abandoned. But it was not forgotten. In the 1970s, everything changed. Lockheed Skunk Works had developed the F-117 Nighthawk, the first operational stealth aircraft. The F-117 used angular, faceted surfaces to deflect radar waves away from the source. It was ugly, but effective. The F-117 proved that stealth worked. But it had limitations. Its angular design created aerodynamic inefficiency. It could only fly at subsonic speeds. It carried a small payload. It was a surgical strike weapon, not a strategic bomber. The Air Force wanted something bigger. Something that could carry massive bomb loads deep into Soviet territory. Something that could penetrate the most sophisticated air defenses in the world and deliver nuclear weapons to any target. They wanted a stealth bomber. Northrop Corporation saw an opportunity. The flying wing design that had failed in the 1940s might be perfect for stealth. A smooth, curved surface would scatter radar waves more effectively than the F-117's angles. And modern fly-by-wire computers could solve the stability problems that had doomed earlier flying wings. In 1979, Northrop began work on what would become the B-2 Spirit. The project was classified at the highest level. Its very existence was a secret. For over a decade, the B-2 was developed in complete secrecy. Thousands of engineers worked on it. Billions of dollars were spent. And the outside world knew nothing. Making an aircraft invisible to radar is extraordinarily difficult. Radar works by bouncing radio waves off objects. Waves hit the target, reflect back, and are detected by a receiver. The size and shape of the radar return tells operators what they are looking at. To defeat radar, you must either absorb those radio waves or redirect them away from the receiver. The B-2 does both. The aircraft's shape is the first line of defense. The flying wing design has no vertical surfaces, no tail, no fuselage sides. These are the features that create strong radar returns on conventional aircraft. The B-2's leading edges are swept at a precise angle. When radar waves hit them, they are redirected away from the source rather than bouncing straight back. The few surfaces that might create returns are carefully aligned so they all point in the same direction, minimizing the angles from which the aircraft can be detected. The second line of defense is materials. The B-2 skin is made of advanced composite materials that absorb radar energy rather than reflecting it. Special coatings add additional absorption. Even the paint is radar absorbent. The engines are buried deep within the wing to hide their radar signature. The exhaust is cooled and dispersed to reduce infrared visibility. Every detail, from the shape of the cockpit windows to the design of the air intakes, was optimized for stealth. The result is an aircraft with a radar cross-section smaller than a marble. A bomber the size of a small building appears on radar as something no bigger than an insect. A flying wing without a tail is aerodynamically unstable. In the 1940s, this made flying wings nearly impossible to control. Pilots had to constantly fight the aircraft to keep it level. Small disturbances could quickly become catastrophic. The B-2 solves this problem with computers. The aircraft is equipped with a quadruple redundant fly-by-wire system. 4 independent computers constantly monitor the aircraft's attitude and make thousands of corrections per second. The pilot moves the control stick, and the computers translate those inputs into the precise control surface movements needed to execute the maneuver while maintaining stability. Without these computers, the B-2 would be unflyable. The aircraft is designed to be inherently unstable because instability actually improves maneuverability. The computers make constant micro-adjustments that no human pilot could perform. This was the breakthrough that made the flying wing practical. What was impossible in 1949 became routine in 1989. The dream that Jack Northrop had pursued for decades was finally realized, 30 years after his program was canceled. Northrop himself lived to see the B-2's first public unveiling in 1988. He was 93 years old and confined to a wheelchair. When shown a photograph of the aircraft, he reportedly said, "Now I know why God has kept me alive for the last 25 years." He died 10 months later, having seen his vision vindicated. The B-2 Spirit is the most expensive aircraft ever built. The program's total cost was approximately $44 billion for 21 aircraft. That works out to roughly $2 billion per plane. When development costs are excluded and only production costs are counted, each aircraft still cost over $700 million. Why so expensive? The materials are exotic and difficult to work with. The composite structures must be manufactured to incredibly precise tolerances. A tiny flaw in the radar-absorbent skin can create a detectable radar return. The manufacturing process is extraordinarily labor-intensive. Each B-2 required hundreds of thousands of man-hours to build. Components had to be assembled in climate-controlled facilities to prevent contamination. Maintenance is equally demanding. The radar-absorbent coatings degrade over time and must be constantly inspected and repaired. A single B-2 requires over 50 hours of maintenance for every hour of flight time. The aircraft must be housed in special climate-controlled hangars to protect its sensitive skin. Critics argued that the cost was absurd. For the price of 21 B-2s, the Air Force could have bought hundreds of conventional bombers. The entire fleet could be destroyed by a few well-placed bombs on their hangars. Supporters countered that cost comparisons missed the point. A conventional bomber flying against Soviet air defenses would be shot down. The B-2 could penetrate those same defenses undetected. One B-2 was worth more than 100 bombers that would never reach their targets. The debate was never fully resolved. The Cold War ended before the B-2 could be tested against Soviet defenses, but the aircraft would soon prove its worth in other conflicts. The B-2 saw combat for the first time in March 1999. NATO was conducting Operation Allied Force against Serbia. Serbian air defenses were sophisticated and dangerous. They had already shot down an F-117 stealth fighter, proving that stealth was not invincibility. The B-2s flew from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Their targets were in Serbia, over 6,000 miles away. The missions were the longest combat sorties in aviation history. Each mission lasted over 30 hours. The B-2s flew across the Atlantic, entered European airspace, penetrated Serbian defenses, dropped their bombs, and flew all the way back to Missouri. The pilots rotated sleep periods in the cockpit, using the aircraft's autopilot to rest. The B-2 performed flawlessly. Serbian radar never detected the approaching bombers. Targets were destroyed with precision-guided munitions. The aircraft returned safely every time. In total, B-2s flew 49 combat sorties during Operation Allied Force. They delivered over 600 bombs with remarkable accuracy. Not a single aircraft was damaged. The B-2 had proven itself in combat. The $2 billion Ghost was worth every penny. The B-2's most dramatic demonstration came in March 2003. Operation Iraqi Freedom began with a campaign of shock and awe designed to paralyze the Iraqi military. B-2 bombers played a central role. On the opening night, B-2s struck targets throughout Iraq. They flew from Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean and from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Some missions covered over 15,000 miles round trip. The B-2s carried a new weapon, the Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAM. These GPS-guided bombs could hit targets with remarkable precision, even through clouds or sandstorms. A single B-2 could destroy 16 separate targets in a single pass. Iraqi air defenses never saw them coming. The B-2s penetrated the most heavily defended airspace in the Middle East without detection. They struck command bunkers, communications facilities, and air defense sites. They decapitated Iraqi military command and control in the opening hours of the war. The psychological impact was immense. Iraqi forces knew they were being bombed, but could not see or stop the attackers. The invisible bombers seemed unstoppable, omnipresent, godlike. This was the B-2's intended role, not just to destroy targets, but to terrify enemies. To demonstrate that American air power could reach anywhere, strike anything, and never be seen. One of the B-2's most remarkable capabilities is its range. The aircraft can fly over 6,000 miles without refueling. With aerial refueling, its range is effectively unlimited. A B-2 can take off from the continental United States, strike a target anywhere on Earth, and return home without landing. This capability is called global reach. It means that no target on the planet is safe from American air power. An enemy cannot assume that distance provides protection. The B-2 has demonstrated this capability repeatedly. Missions from Missouri to Afghanistan. Missions from Diego Garcia to Iraq. Missions lasting over 40 hours, covering tens of thousands of miles. For the aircrew, these missions are grueling. 2 pilots share the cockpit, taking turns flying and resting. The aircraft has a small area behind the seats with a cot and a toilet. Meals are eaten in the cockpit. Sleep comes in short intervals. But the strategic implications are profound. The United States does not need overseas bases to project power. The bombers can strike from American soil, eliminating the political complications of basing rights and host nation approval. During the Cold War, this capability was designed to ensure nuclear retaliation. Even if the Soviet Union destroyed American bases overseas, bombers from the continental United States could still strike back. Today, global reach serves conventional purposes. The B-2 can respond to crises anywhere in the world within hours. Only 21 B-2 Spirits were built. The original plan called for 132 aircraft. That number was reduced to 75 as costs escalated. After the Cold War ended, the order was cut again to 21. Each aircraft has a name: Spirit of Missouri, Spirit of Texas, Spirit of New York. They are named after states, honoring the places where they were built or based. One B-2 has been lost. The Spirit of Kansas crashed on takeoff from Anderson Air Force Base in Guam in February 2008. Both pilots ejected safely. The cause was moisture in sensors that gave faulty readings. The aircraft was a total loss, reducing the fleet to 20. 20 aircraft to cover the entire planet. 20 bombers that represent the most advanced aviation technology ever created. 20 ghosts that can go anywhere and strike anything. The small fleet size means each aircraft is precious. Losing another B-2 would be a significant blow to American strike capability. The aircraft are treated with extraordinary care, housed in special facilities, maintained by dedicated crews. But 20 has proven sufficient. In every conflict since 1999, B-2s have been available when needed. Invisible Fleet has never failed to deliver. The B-2 will not fly forever. The aircraft entered service in 1997. The newest airframe is over 25 years old. Despite upgrades and modernization, the basic design dates from the 1980s. The Air Force is developing a replacement, the B-21 Raider. Like the B-2, it will be a stealth bomber. Like the B-2, it will have global reach. But it will incorporate 3 decades of advances in stealth technology, material science, and computer systems. The B-21 is designed to be more affordable than the B-2. The Air Force plans to buy at least 100 aircraft. More bombers mean more flexibility, more targets that can be struck simultaneously, more redundancy if aircraft are lost. Details of the B-21 remain classified. Its first flight occurred in November 2023. The aircraft is expected to enter service in the mid-2020s. When it does, the B-2 will begin its retirement. The flying wings that revolutionized air warfare will be replaced by a new generation of flying wings. The legacy will continue. But the B-2 spirit will not be forgotten. It was the aircraft that proved stealth bombing was practical. It was the aircraft that made Soviet air defenses obsolete. It was the aircraft that could go anywhere and destroy anything without being seen. $2 billion per copy. The most expensive aircraft ever built. And worth every cent. The B-2 Spirit changed the nature of air warfare. Before the B-2, bombers faced a terrible equation. Air defenses were becoming increasingly lethal. Surface-to-air missiles could reach higher and fly faster. Radar systems could detect aircraft at greater distances. The odds of a bomber surviving to reach its target were declining. The B-2 reset that equation. It demonstrated that stealth technology could defeat the most sophisticated defenses. It proved that a properly designed aircraft could penetrate enemy airspace undetected. This had strategic implications beyond the aircraft itself. Nations that had invested billions in air defense systems suddenly found those investments worthless against stealth. The calculus of military planning had to be revised. The B-2 also changed how America projects power. The ability to strike any target on Earth from American soil gives policymakers options that did not exist before. Military action no longer requires forward bases, overflight rights, or coalition support. This capability is controversial. Critics argue it makes war too easy, removes the political friction that should accompany military action. Supporters argue it gives America flexibility to respond to threats quickly and decisively. Whatever one's view, the capability exists. And it exists because engineers at Northrop Grumman achieved what had seemed impossible. They made a 40-meter bomber invisible to radar. They made a flying wing stable and controllable. They created an aircraft that redefined what was possible in military aviation. The B-2 Spirit, the $2 billion ghost, the most remarkable aircraft of its generation, and a reminder that in the endless competition between offense and defense, technology can always change the rules.